Good morning, Ben. How are you today?
Very well, Peter. Thank you.
Ben, you're the CEO of a company that's been able to raise capital utilising the federal government's new legal process called crowdsource funding equity raising. How have you found this process?
Overall, really exciting and really positive, and very successful. So it was a long process, but really rewarding, and we're really excited about not just what it raised during the process, but the actual benefits of it going forward.
Can you tell us a bit about Endeavour Brewing Company?
Yeah, sure. We started in 2010 as a virtual beer company. We had our own brand, recipes, and we started talking to farmers down in Tassie and Victoria about using all Australian ingredients and making beer much like wine. So looking at the best of the crop every year, tweaking our recipes every year to suit those ingredients, and producing a set of sort of vintage harvest beers. Since then, we then opened our own brew house in the Rocks in 2016, Endeavour Tap Rooms and Brew Bar. But all 8.5 years we've been shipping our beers nationally through a lot of production through our partner brewers, and a little bit of export, of which we're ramping up this year.
Okay, so what were your targets in the shareholding?
We set ourselves a capital raising window of between $1 and $3 million. We actually had a preemptive period with our existing shareholders as per our constitution. So we opened up that capital raising to them first, of which we raised $695,000. So that then changed the window for the crowdfunding part of $305,000 to $2.305 million.
And how much did you raise from crowdsource funding?
We ended up with $556,900. Sorry, $556,700. So yeah, we got above the minimum, well above the minimum, about 83% above the minimum of $305,000.
That's good. And how many new shareholders did you acquire? Yeah,
we acquired 579 new shareholders. That's on a base of we previously had about 40 shareholders. Our company was started with 3 blokes and 35 mates. So we actually did crowdfunding before there was actually a term back in 2010. I was literally inviting mates to a pub to try beer and saying who wants to be in on a beer company. And yeah, now we've literally last Monday we settled on the share offer with Equitise, and on the Tuesday everyone got their holding statements. So now we have an active database of 608 shareholders.
Good. So that capital raising you did earlier that you referred to would have been under Section 708 of the Corporations Act.
Correct.
Yes, and it's still a very important section to work in conjunction with crowdsource funding.
Yeah, so any direct shareholders we still have to stay under that 50 shareholder cap to remain a private company. We've got, probably a roadmap to get to a public company, but at the moment the costs of compliance and extra diligence is a little bit prohibitive to a company our size. But now that we do have 608 shareholders, we'll be doing all our normal reporting. We will be doing an annual report, etc. But we're not quite a public company yet.
No. How long did the listing take for crowdsource funding? Did you take the full 90 days or was it less?
No, we went at about 60 days.
Okay.
And again, it was just because our total capital raise had a 3-month window after we closed it to existing shareholders. So we did the existing shareholders over a week. We then spent a week putting in that investment into our numbers, etc. And then we opened the crowdfunding round on November 30. Had a little private period for people, associates, staff, and then we went full public in the middle of December and closed on the 13th of February.
Very good. How many directors have you got?
We've got 3 directors. It's the original 3 blokes. So yeah, three directors. We are looking at refreshing our board, possibly getting an independent director in, and another significant shareholder maybe joining the board. So we'll go to sort of 4 or 5 directors going forward.
Did you have any pressure from any of the new shareholders to have a say in the appointment of a director, or were they happy to go with the status quo?
Oh, they were happy to go with the status quo. The biggest investor outside the existing shareholders came in at 100,000. They've got a nice little stake in the business. Percentage terms, it's not a huge stake, so they're just happy to be involved in a beer company. There's other benefits for all our shareholders now. We've formed a shareholders club called the Endeavour Crew, and depending on how much they invested, they're one of 3 tiers within that club, and they get a bit of merchandise and some discounts and some ongoing little goodies going forward, and which I think is important and really exciting to harness, hopefully, their enthusiasm in supporting their own beer company.
Some companies that are trying to raise capital as crowdsource funding are doing that. They're introducing some fringe benefits, if you like. Do you think that's important?
Oh, 100%. I think, especially for people in our space, which are consumer brands, they want to be something, not just a shareholder and, bottom drawer investment. I think they want to be, quite engaged and feel part of the brand. And definitely then we are hoping that they'll act as ultra engaged brand ambassadors out there. So especially for consumer brands, I think you need to give them something special, something exclusive. It doesn't always have to be free. It might just be first access, or it might be, and we're going to do one every year, we're going to do an exclusive shareholders beer. So they're going to actually be invited. We're going to have an annual general mashing rather than an AGM, and we're all going to get them together to brew a beer, have a few drinks, and then a few weeks later we're going to bottle or can off that beer, send it to them, and they're going to get access, or exclusive access, to buy a little bit more until the batch is all allocated. But yeah, I think for consumer brands especially, whether it be maybe a clothing brand and they want to do an exclusive shirt for their shareholders, or a watch company I saw, they were going to design an exclusive watch for their shareholders. So I think that's really important.
Okay. Do some of the shareholders turn up at the Rocks at your outlet there?
Yeah, well, we've already had half a dozen turn up who we weren't previously shareholders. A couple turned up before the settlement period, so we of course gave them the discount early. So we offer them a discount to come to the Endeavour tap rooms and brew bar Monday to Thursdays when we're a little bit less busy. They can get discount on the beers. Obviously, with responsible service of alcohol, always a high consideration. So, yeah, they're definitely now can come to our home, and indeed come to their home, because they're a fully fledged shareholder.
Okay, Ben, the people who are going to watch this recording are either accountants, bookkeepers, or business advisors in one group, and the other group are people like yourself. They are currently running small businesses or medium-sized enterprises, obviously with turnovers under $25 million. Would you recommend this process to them? Would you recommend, firstly, that accountants and advisors get an understanding of it so they can help their clients? And would you think it's beneficial for small, medium-sized businesses?
Well, 100%. I think very important for accountants and advisors to understand what it all means. It's a new way of getting capital. It's not an easy way, and it's not a cheap or dodgy way of getting capital. It's a fully fledged, very sophisticated, very well thought out program that, obviously vetted by ASIC. So I think those advisors and accountants definitely, you need brands that have got, some good plans, some upward trajectories. They know exactly what they do with that extra capital. It's not just, I'll put the hat out and get some money and I'll trust us. You've got to really put out a fully fledged offer document, which is an ASIC template, and it's got a lot of caveats in there that you need to obviously honour. So, and then for the business side, definitely, we were going to raise capital this year. Late last year, 2018, and we were looking at private equity, sophisticated investors, that wholesale market for that big amount we were chasing. But then I'd been watching crowdsourced equity funding internationally, and then obviously the first public company started doing it in early 2018. When that new legislation came that if you raised less than 3 million, you could stay as a private company, that's when we instantly just changed tack and went to that model for our second part of the capital raising after the existing shareholders.
Okay. And since then, of course, that legislation's now got it that you can raise up to $5 million as a private company, and you can do that every 12 months if the market will support you and you want to raise more money. So I think it's very exciting times.
Yeah, I think you've got to be fair on your valuations as well. So
yeah.
it's, as I said, it's not a cheap and easy and dodgy way of getting money. It is a very sophisticated model. But if you've got a good story, and we believe we had a pretty good story, we raised 1.25 million.
Very good. You did mention just earlier, I meant to come back to it, that one of your shareholders put in $100,000. Was that as part of the original capital raise under Section 708, or is he a sophisticated investor?
No, he's a sophisticated investor that we had a sort of second degree of separation to. So popped through the platform, the Equitize platform. I can remember it was a Thursday afternoon, and I instantly rang Arthur at Equitize and said, "Who's this guy?" Because we don't see all the details initially. And he said, "Oh, new customer, a new client to our platform," and we didn't know the name. So he's on my to call list now that we've settled. Get him, see how actively involved he wants to be. The existing shareholders, there was actually a couple of bigger investments than that. So, but he was the biggest, I guess, crowd investor.
Yeah, and just for clarification for the people watching this video, retail investors, who are people not described as sophisticated investors, have got an investment limit of $10,000 per company.
Correct.
Per annum. And that's really why I picked you up on that, because
Yeah.
people listening may have thought that a company could put 100,000, but they can only put that amount in to a crowdsourced funding company if that person's a sophisticated investor. So that's great.
Or wholesale. Yeah. Our average investment parcel was about $900.
Right.
So that gives you a sort of a feel. 579 new investors combined to contribute $556,000. So yeah, it was about $900 average investment.
Okay, Ben, you've got a very interesting story. Thank you very much for sharing it with us. And obviously our viewers, who are going to be people from all over Australia and accountants and business operators, all the best in the future for Endeavour Brewing Company. And obviously anyone that's watching this that's in Sydney, go down to the Rocks and find the Endeavour facility. What did you actually call it?
Endeavour Tap Rooms and Brew Bar. We're on Argyle Street in the Rocks. You can't miss us. We're right in the middle of the busy part of the Rocks on the pedestrian mall. 100 metres from the harbour, and 5 of the 8 brews beers are brewed on site and always changing.
Okay, thanks very much and have a great day. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, I'll just...